After 6 years of bullet journaling, sometimes this hobby can get a little bit stagnant. So today I'm going to be showing you guys 5 different bullet journaling spread ideas that you maybe have never heard of before and that you might want to add to your own journal. And we're going to be making every single spread in today's video using Ohuhu's Poupe color markers, which are their paper-friendly line of water-based markers today. And I'm super excited to test these out for y'all. They were very generous and sent me their pack of 120 markers, which means we have so many colors to go through today and swatch, which is so exciting. What I love specifically about these markers is that, similar to a lot of other water-based markers, they have 2 different ends to them. So on one end we have the brush nib, which is wide and flexible, and it's good for wide swaths of coloring or calligraphy, but also depending on how light you hold the pen, it can have a pretty thin nib. On the other end there's a fine liner nib, and this is very, very small and delicate. Some other popular brands have a wider fine liner nib, but this one is really, really small at 0.4 millimeters. And so this is the perfect marker to use in your bullet journal. Not only can you get things like coloring and calligraphy, but you can also get fine liner details. And because they're water-based markers, it won't bleed through paper like other things will, like potentially paint or alcohol markers and things like that. Before you ask, yes, it did take me a very long time to go through and swatch every single one of these markers, but watching the time lapse is so satisfying. I love doing these, even if it's a little time consuming, because they are just so satisfying to complete. But I always want to test every marker before I use them, because while the color swatch sheet that they gave us, is accurate, I like to see the colors for myself on paper instead of being printed. That way I know what colors I want to choose when I'm making spreads in the future. So just looking at this entire range of colors, I'm seeing quite a lot of teals and blues and a surprising amount of yellows as well. I feel like often bullet journaling marker sets don't have many yellows in them, but this one has a nice range of yellows and oranges. And then getting towards the bottom, we also have a lot of neutrals, including a nice range of browns, which would be great for drawing skin tones, and then some grays as well in both the warmer and cooler tones. And there's also a couple fluorescents down there. There's a pink, orange, yellow, and red fluorescent, which are really, really fun. So in total we have 119 colors plus 1 color blender in the bottom right, and that's such a wide color palette, so you have so many options to choose from when making your spreads. Okay, well now I want to put these markers to the test, because after journaling for 6 years? Actually, I think it's 7 years. I've journaled since 2020. So I've tried a lot of markers, and these are why I love the Ohuhu Poupe markers. Number one, you can see the just range in the sizes here. The fine liner is really, really fine, which is great because you can do more than just outlining. You can also write with these markers. You can also do line art and things like that. But then the calligraphy pen, if you hold it really lightly, it's about 1 millimeter, but if you hold it and press down really hard, it's 5 millimeters. So you can do calligraphy and also just get a wide range of thickness as well with that nib. Now these markers, number one selling point is that you can layer on top of them up to 20 times over and over and over and over and over on one spot, and the paper will not pill underneath. I'm showing you a comparison. So the first 2 markers at the top, the purple and the orange, are both from Ohuhu, and you can see that even though I layered over them a bunch of times, I really went back and forth and back and forth, there is no pilling of the paper, aka where the paper picks up. But on the bottom 2, which are different brands, you can tell that whenever I rub my finger over it, parts of the paper that are stained blue and orange are peeling up because the ink from the marker is wetting the paper and picking it up. And so if you prefer to do more detailed blending or layering in your journal, the Ohuhu markers are really the better option because they don't have this problem and they're perfectly safe to layer on basically any paper. So I really do love these for that reason, and we're really going to be putting that to the test when we do our bullet journal spreads in just a few minutes. Last little pen test here, I wanted to do a little blending thing at the bottom where I did a little gradient from orange to pink. It's not absolutely perfect. I do find that in general alcohol markers do blend more easily than water-based markers do, but all things considered, this is a pretty good blend in my opinion for water-based markers, and I think that you can definitely do more styles and tactics as well if you pull out that color blender from the pack and use that in your own artwork. So I'm going to be pulling my markers for my spreads today completely from the swatch list that we made. I'm going to pull a couple greens, a couple reds. I'm also doing a couple more neutral, pinky, beiges, and a black. And if these colors look familiar to you, no, we're not doing Christmassy themed. We're going to be doing a strawberry theme for these spreads today. Although really you could do any theme that you wanted, any style that you wanted for these spreads. I'm more just showing you the artwork itself and the spread ideas as inspiration, and you can absolutely change whatever you want and just take bits and pieces that vibe with you and go from there when you're making your own spreads. So when I was planning this video, I didn't want to do anything, I don't want to call it boring per se, but you know, whenever we do our bullet journal setups every single month, we have some of the same spreads in every single theme because it's consistent, it's what we always use. So like for me, I have my calendar page, my goals pages, sometimes I use a tracker page, sometimes I use academic planning pages, and I usually have weekly spreads and things like that. But although whenever I was younger and I just started bullet journaling, I used to do so many more like fun creative pages. Recently, and by recently I mean like the past 2 or 3 years, I really haven't dedicated much time in my bullet journal for doing things like that, which honestly I do kind of miss, and I want to get back to it, which is why I wanted to make today's video to inspire both you and myself. So I went on Pinterest and looked for some ideas, but then honestly I thought of some off the top of my head as well, because the idea in today's video is to find spread ideas that you probably haven't heard of. You know, we've all heard of like a quote page, you know, or a mood tracker page, or what else? What's popular? Maybe reading journaling, things like that. And although those are all fantastic, of course, I love doing all of those, I want to do some, you know, more original ideas. So the first spread on the right here, I mean, the one on the left is like a title page, you know, 5 spread ideas that you probably haven't heard of before. It's just like the title of today's video. But the one on the right is going to be a recipe page. I remember I did this a couple of years ago. It may have been for a YouTube video, but maybe not. But I believe it was cupcakes I was making or something like that. And it was so fun just to like copy down the recipe in my own journal. So I looked up a strawberry Danish recipe on Pinterest because I wanted it to like match the vibes of like the strawberry aesthetic that we're going for in today's setup here. And on the left, I have a little doodle of the finished baked Danish. And then I have a list of all the ingredients you'll need. And then on the right, I just took out my pen and was transcribing the recipe itself from the website that I found it on. And before you ask, no, this is not a fine liner pen. This is not some different brand. This is literally just the fine tip of the Ohuhu marker. So when I tell you like these pens can get really fine and detailed, you can literally use them for like writing, you know, everyday things like a recipe in your journal, which is why I just love that they're very versatile. At the bottom, because I didn't actually use all of that space for the recipe, I added another little doodle here, and I'm drawing these more realistic-ish strawberries. They're not absolutely perfect, you know, but I just wanted to make sure that I added enough highlights and shadows to make it look realistic, and I'll talk more about the coloring process on a different page. But now we're on the next page, which is going to be my travels essential page. And if we're being really honest, this is probably my least favorite of the 5 that I did, just because I think the idea was there, but the execution wasn't 100%. Basically, in my mind, I was like, when I go traveling, there is always a list of things. They're just miscellaneous, random things I need to bring with me in my bag that I often forget or leave till last minute. And so having one place, a spread that you can just go back and reference when you need to remember all those little like miscellaneous things might be helpful, you know? So on this page, I have things like contacts or vitamins or a belt, because my father forgot a belt when he was traveling recently. Toothpaste. I always either bring my full-size toothpaste and get it confiscated at TSA, or I just forget it altogether, which is so stupid. Let's see, an umbrella, downloading your music, a charger, oh my goodness, chargers, headphones, things like this, right? So I just decided to do a little doodle of every one of these little things, but because my theme was like red and green, I didn't really want to like do it in a bunch of random colors, so I did more of like a line art doodle with an added shadow with a light pink. It's, you know, it's fine. It's whatever. It's not perfect. It's not my favorite thing ever, but the idea of the spread being like a reference place is still, like the function is still there, you know, it's still very useful. It's just that like maybe if I'd done it again, I would have done it with like more colors and more realistic images, you know? Anyway, moving on to the next spread, this is going to be a library book tracking page. And this could be, you know, translated to anything. It could be library tracking, it could be like audiobooks, or it could be, what else do you like borrow from places? Like, do you borrow movies or DVDs from a library? Whatever it is, you know, whatever you're borrowing. Sometimes it's good to have a place to track everything, right? So I made this big chart. The title and everything is very simple at the top, and then the chart has like 5 different columns. So in order, I believe it goes like the day that you loaned it, the title of the book, the format, whether it's like a Kindle ebook, if it's an audiobook, if it's a physical book, then the day that it needs to be returned, and then you check off the box at the very end if you've returned it or not. I didn't really put a place in here if it's like overdue. Hopefully it wouldn't need that. Hopefully we're all turning our library books on time. Personally, for me, I really only borrow digitally, so I'll borrow like a bunch of audiobooks or ebooks, and so they just automatically return. But especially if you like to go to physical libraries and like borrow physical books, this could be really helpful, in my opinion. Okay, Okay, the next spread is probably the least original of this entire list, and that is a playlist spread. This one I feel like people already do know about, but I love a playlist spread, so I made one anyway, okay? Let me walk you through my coloring process for these strawberries really quick. So I outlined the strawberry itself in the darkest red and the leaves of the strawberry in the darkest green. And then I will go in with my medium toned red and I will fill in almost the entire strawberry, but I will leave a little gap for the highlight in the strawberry. Then I will add darker shadows with the darkest red color. And that usually just involves going around the edges of the strawberry that's opposite from the highlight, and also just adding little lines under where the leaves would cast shadows onto the berry itself. And then I will go in with my light pink, fill in that highlighted section, and blend it out with a little bit of the medium red. So a little bit of going back and forth between lighter and darker colors to make the blend a little smoother. And then if it looks a little bit, you know, not smooth, it's okay, because the last step is taking the very darkest red color and adding little seeds, which are just basically little tick marks across the entire berry, and it saves everything. Everything looks more realistic when you add the little strawberry seeds on it, trust me, okay? So they look really shiny and juicy and delicious, and I love that. And kind of going off of the like strawberry aesthetic, all of these pages also have that little like gingham with the light beige marker. It's so easy to do this with water-based markers because when you layer water-based markers, they usually get darker. And so all you have to do is draw like cross-hatched lines. And when the two lines overlap, there's automatically a darker square, aka a gingham pattern. So the last page on the right is just a things I want to learn spread. I fear I'm running out of time in this video, but basically sometimes you just want to like research something or get better at something, and it's always these like random things. So having a brain dump page to drop these ideas or facts or topics that you want to learn more about or get better at could be a fun spread to add to your journal. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some good inspiration from it. And if you want to check out Ohuhu, I'll have a link to their markers down below. They have an amazing set of 120, but you can also get smaller packs if you prefer that. And if you want to use code Mingo Studio, you can get 10% off. So thank you to Ohuhu for sponsoring today's video. Thank you to you guys for watching. Subscribe as always, and I will see you in a new video very soon.